I thought I was eating healthy as a 40-year-old pescatarian until I took a closer look at my diet. And I was shocked when I realized how much sugar I was eating in a day. That's when I learned about the SAD diet. And it is not just a description, it is actually an acronym for the Standard American Diet. And today I'm sharing the supplement secrets that actually work for midlife skin and health, but only if you do this one foundational thing first. This week, I am joined by board certified dermatologist Dr. Glynis Ablon from Manhattan Beach. She is owner of the Ablon Skin Institute and Research Center, and she is a big proponent of not just nutrition, but also taking supplements to fill in the gaps where our diet may be lacking, or maybe our bodies don't absorb those nutrients like they should. And so we are deficient. If you have ever thought about supplements, maybe you've been overwhelmed by all the options out there and just don't even know where to begin, this episode is for you. Dr. Ablon, thank you so much for being here. I heard your talk recently on supplements, and I was like, I have got to get you on here because not a day goes by that someone's not asking me about supplements. And I also have questions. So I am thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Now, you are a dermatologist, you practice in California, and I know you also are, I guess it's fair to say, like, you're a fan of supplements, right? Like, you believe in supplements.
I believe, and I think as far as, medicine goes in general, nutrition is where we all start. And I think we are taught so little, correct me if I'm wrong, but certainly I wasn't taught much at all about nutrition. And you go through medical school and you're taught so many things. But the reality is, it all starts with what you put in your body. And I think we're seeing more and more articles that come out talking about how important what we eat really is. And there are, the psoriasis diet. There are different kinds of diets that kind of piecemeal here and there, and they come up. But the reality is that we really don't have that discussion from day one. And so I try with my patients to really talk pretty much with every subject. What are you eating? How is your nutrition? What do you do on a daily basis? I have a nutritionist that works in my office so that my patients who don't have that conversation or need more time can really sit down with someone. And I think extensions become an extension of that. The supplements become an extension of your daily life, your daily nutrition and what you put in your body. So that in that way, I'm a fan. I think you heard my story, but my 96-year-old grandfather was a big fan of eating really, really healthy and got my mom on her vitamins. And so we were all put on vitamins at a very early age. And so it's been part of my lifestyle. And I think that the more you see, you see colon cancer on the rise in young adults. Why? Did our genetics suddenly change? No. What did change? The kind of food that we're eating, the processing, the chemicals, the dyes, when you see the blue zones, why are these people living so many years? These are people toiling off the land. They're eating what they grow. They're walking miles and miles, and we're all sitting on iPhones and hopping in Ubers and things like that. So I think that, to be fair, in any diagnosis and anything that someone comes in with an issue, it's not, here's a prescription. It's, let's start at the beginning. And for me, the beginning really is what you're putting in your body. And I think from there, we then say, okay, I love getting labs on patients because, what are you missing? Are you absorbing what you're eating? You may say, I have the best nutrition. I eat everything. My boyfriend says he's like the most magnificent eater, and he really is. But guess what? He's low in X, Y, Z, PDQ. Why? Because his gut's not absorbing it. So it's really important to me to kind of have that discussion. And that's part of the reason I'm a fan of it, because I think we are missing a lot in our daily lives. And so I personally take supplements. I've got bottles on the shelf that you can't see right here. I've got bottles by my bed, bottles by my sink, bottles in the fridge, so I've got it all over the place so that I feel I'm giving my body its best shot at the healthiest, longest version of myself I can create.
Absolutely. I feel like too, as I in my mid-40s now, I'm like, "Oh, in the past, I just wanted to be skinny," which is I'm, like, embarrassed to say that, but now I'm like, "No, I actually wanna be strong. I actually wanna focus on muscles and protein," and I felt like I ate pretty well. I was pescatarian or vegetarian, and I felt like I didn't eat a lot of processed food, but then when I actually started looking at it, I couldn't believe how much sugar was in stuff that I didn't even think had sugar in. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm only supposed to eat 25 grams," and I just blew that with, like, 1 snack. It was crazy.
And that's the thing is that, again, sugar doesn't really do anything good. So if you're going to eat sugar, at least to be, eating natural sugar like fruits and things like that. But yeah, so that's my kind of train of thought when it comes to it. And I think you heard me say, we have this sad diet in the United States.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Tell us what that is.
Standard American diet. Acronym, SAD. How sad is it sad that we have that title to what we're eating? And so I try to talk to patients about anti-inflammatory diets. And, I have a lot of patients with autoimmune disorders and they change what they eat. And guess what? They feel better. I mean, why are the GLP-1s helping those with autoimmune? Why? A lot of them are overweight. When they lose the weight, the body changes. They're not craving certain things. They may not be eating those horrible things that they were eating and their body can handle it. Same with hidradenitis. Most of our hidradenitis patients tend to be overweight. And, 45% of Americans are in the obesity category, not just overweight, obese. I mean, it just shows you that whatever we're doing, we're not doing it well. And, you see children that are overweight and it breaks my heart just because as a parent, you want the kids to be as healthy as they can be. Some of it may be genetic, starting with the genetics, but a lot of it is, again, what's being put in the diet and cheap food, fast food, which people sometimes eat because it's cheaper and they can afford it. It's horrible for you.
Yeah, it's like it may be quicker and seem easier in that moment, right? But the effects that it has down the road are huge. And wow, your patients are so lucky. You have a nutritionist in your office. I mean, that is just phenomenal. That is amazing. What a gift.
Yeah, well, I also have a menopause specialist too, so we kinda cover the gamut, so
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I think that's just a huge thing too, like women, especially in midlife, which is a lot of my audience saying, "Well, I'm why am I gaining weight? Why am I gaining weight around my belly when I'm eating the same way I always have." So it's important to learn that. And yeah, I love how you said like start with nutrition, right? Like don't just supplements aren't like a magic pill, right? That where you can eat junk and then just take a supplement, and it's all going to work out, right? So starting with your diet.
and I think that's the problem with the GLP-1. Some people think, "Oh, well, I can take that and then I'll lose the weight," but the point is, even if you're losing the weight, it's to have a healthy body that can support you down the line, and I mean, we also know that, you know, macular degeneration, guess what that's from? Diet, nutrition, or lack thereof. Alzheimer's, they've linked it to what you eat. Like, hello, when are we gonna wake up? I mean, yeah, you might write a prescription for this drug that in the data doesn't even really work. It doesn't hurt you, but it doesn't work. How about if we start with the basic? And isn't that what we want for kids?
It's just so hard, right? It's so hard. But I would love to know what are some, evidence-backed supplements like for skin, for someone midlife and, they're trying to eat well, they're trying to focus on nutrition. Are there some supplements that you would recommend that someone consider for skin health?
So I do think collagen, I think they've got enough. It's like 18 now studies that show that collagen does help. Now, again, I'm a big bone broth person, so I drink bone broth. So I think, you can get some from the nutrition, but I'll add collagen powder to my collagen hydrolysate powder to my smoothie or to my coffee or things like that. So I think that is a nice one to help boost internal. I really do like there's different companies that will come actually draw your blood in your house for people that can't get to a lab draw station, or you can also order it. Vibrant Health is one that comes to mind. I have no financial interest with them, but they will draw labs and you can order different kinds of panels to find out, what's going on in someone's life. What might they be low on? What do they need? I mean, when I talk about skin, I also, I delve into sleep as well because if you don't get a good night's sleep, forget it the next day. So, magnesium, there's a magnesium threonate, there's a bunch of different things. So I try to kind of find out what people have as their baseline. And from there, then I can add on different things that might help them. I give handouts, as I mentioned. I'm a big handout girl. So I give like nutrition handouts, fatty fish, certain nuts and seeds, fiber is another big one that people always forget about. And I think, it's a really, really important one. And you can get a lot from different kinds of seeds and nuts. So I just try to go over all the different things that the patient's doing, adding in nuts and seeds, like adding in what they might be missing, getting lab values, and then saying, okay, here's what you might need to supplement. Because you can go down that road where you can have I'm going to be 60. I'm not your age. I'm going to be 60. And so I don't want surgery. That's just me. I don't want anesthesia. I don't want surgery. I literally, the only thing I've ever done in my life was I had a C-section with my baby. That was it. And so I take what I know that I'm missing. So, like, once you get into menopause, that's a category where you really have to look at bone density. And so I'll do life extensions vitamins, which again, I have no financial interest in, not, but I'll do their vitamins and their bone growth supplements and their strontium and things like that, because I think those are things that you start to lack or miss or need in your body.
Absolutely. First of all, I write down every supplement you're taking and your diet and send it to me so I can copy.
I hear that one too. So I'm always like, oh, you can find, I have actually a sheet of supplements. So everyone knows kind of like my baseline of what to do for skin.
What about things like vitamin D? Because I've started recommending this. Also, my patients with hair loss. And I know you see a lot of people with hair loss, and I find that people tend to be, as we get older too, they have a harder time metabolizing it through the skin, and it's hard to get through our diet.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So vitamin D is one of those ones that for the most part, everyone should be on. Especially those who are protecting themselves from the sun, because then you're getting even less vitamin D from the sun. And as you know, as we watch the schedule kind of, vitamin D levels, having a level of 30 was normal. Now you really want to be up to 50. So I'm always aiming for at least 50 for my patients and myself. I take 2,000 milligrams a day.
Yeah. What about protein powder? Because this is something like I'm 45. I was a vegetarian for a long time. Now I eat meat, but I have a hard time getting 1 gram of protein per ideal body weight a day. And so I have started to take protein powder, which I did learn does not mix in your coffee like collagen powder.
No, I don't take protein powder. So I just am really diligent about getting my protein from my diet. So I am really a pescatarian. I'll do a little bit of organic chicken here and there. I don't do red meat. I don't think it really is that good for you. That's just my opinion. And there are other people who say it's fantastic. Um, I think vegetarian is very hard. And I do have conversations with my vegetarian patient because it's really hard to get enough protein.
And especially vegan too, even harder.
It's really hard, and I think when you get that strict, I understand why people do it, but when you get that strict, your body does, broken bones, weakness. There's just a lot of things that go wrong. So I really just try to force myself to get that protein every single day. I cook fish at least 2 to 3 times a week. I'm not a huge fish lover, but I just do it because I know it's good for me. I stay away from seed oils. I typically bake with no oil whatsoever because as we know, typically when you heat the oils, that's where the problem is. So I'm just really aware, and I do a lot of beans. I'll add, that's what my grandfather used to do that. Every time I come in the house, it would smell like some kind of bean was being made with fresh garlic. So he smelled like garlic, and so I do a lot of garlic, but I'll just spice things up, but I really do make sure I think the problem with the powders, the protein powders, there's just so many other chemicals that get put in them that they make me a little nervous. So, things like bone broth, like I'll try to get the protein in other ways. I have like a little package of my powder bone broth that I get from Whole Foods. So in a pinch, I can just throw it in some hot water and it's organic. So.
Yeah. I mean, you bring up a great point. Like, I look at these like protein shakes and protein bars, and I'm like, this looks like a candy bar to me. Like, this doesn't look, they say, like, if you're going to eat strawberry, have it look like a strawberry, not strawberry flavored or whatever. So, yeah, it's tricky because you're like, well, protein bar sounds healthy for protein, right? But then we actually look at all the stuff that's in it, it's super processed. So again, going back to like just eating more Whole Foods, right?
All close to the source. Yeah, whole close to the source. I used to teach a nutrition class for my kids in elementary school. It was always we'd be like, "Here's the apple, and here's the Apple Jacks," and they are not anywhere, even in the same family. So it's really, the less you put in things, the more, organic and from the earth you get, the better. So that's what I try to do.
Yeah. Oh, I was just thinking my grandmother is 102. I guess she's 102 and a half. And someone was like, "Oh, how's she so healthy?" And actually while you were talking, I was like, I was like, "Oh, I don't know." But then I was like, "You know what? Actually, I do know." She had an amazing garden, vegetable garden, and would eat a lot of that. She cooked. Everything was wasn't processed. She didn't even own a microwave. In fact, I don't think she still owns a microwave. Like everything is cooked, right? And I have a funny story once, one of her kids, so my aunt brought over her a date or a husband or something when they were dating or newly married, and, she presented a salad for dinner, and there was a slug on it, and so, the family joke is, like, that is truly, you know, farm to table, so
Good protein. What's the problem?
you're right, getting a little extra protein in there.
Rub it on your skin, put a little on your skin. How's that?
That's right, some snail mucin.
That's what she meant to do. She meant rub it on your skin.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's so hard nowadays in our modern world, right? Where things are so busy to eat like that. But really, that I'm sure contributed a lot to her health and being able to live independently in an apartment at 102.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big deal, and people just don't I mean, she probably also didn't have an iPhone.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's a different world, and so I think that you just have to take the world you live in and then figure out what you can do to make things as good as you possibly can. I'm always on my kids. My kids are grown now, of course, but I'm always on my daughter graduated college and she's living with me to save money. And, she's like, there's nothing good in this house to eat. And what she really meant to say was, there's nothing crappy in this house to eat.
Exactly, exactly. It's all too healthy. But she'll thank you down the road. Now, what about hair? Like, there's so many hair supplements out there, nutraceuticals. Like, what are if someone's looking to boost their hair? Because I know mine started thinning, and people are like, "You have such thick hair," and I'm like, "Look, I promise you, it's thinning." So I started getting interested in that. But what do you recommend?
So I typically like to see companies that are spending the money on the studies so that I know that they're really working. So we did the first menopause study on supplements for Nutrafol and the results were phenomenal. Patients did really well. I take it every day because not only does it help with hair growth, but it helps with the symptoms that you're going through the hot flashes, the night sweats, just, sleeping better. They added maca, which is something that I was taking by itself because it helps you sleep, and they added it to the supplement. So I find that works really well for menopausal women. We then did a vegan study for them, and everyone in the vegan study was thrilled. And all the girls were like, oh my gosh, the results were great. I want more. So that was another popular one. So what I say is Nutrafol spends the money, spends the time on, you know, getting the data out there to show that it really works. So I will suggest that to my patients. We also did clinical trials for the Viviscal products. And for people that can't do the Nutrafol, the Viviscal works well as well. Um, Different technology altogether. So one are these nutraceuticals, the saw palmetto, the tocopherol, the ashwagandha, things like that. And the other is a deep sea fish protein. And they have a new formula that we're actually doing some clinical trials on right now out of that deep sea fish protein because there were some people that had allergies to mollusks or shark cartilage, things like that. But those companies really do value the data. We just did a clinical trial for Valenza. Their product is a purified, high dose saw palmetto. So again, I just look at where's their true data, two randomized clinical trials where you can say, oh, wow, this really worked. And I always tell my patients that it's not, oh, take a supplement and you're done. But if you look at the etiology of hair loss, and we know it's multifactorial, it's not just, genetics and it's not just stress, but it's all these other things involved, hormones and lifestyle and nutrition and all that. So then I say, this is one thing in the armamentarium that can help you. And it's nice because people like to do something at home. And not only does their hair look better, but their skin and nails look better as well. So I typically go with companies that we do research that have the data.
Yeah, I'm like that too, right? Usually it's not something I'm doing on its own by itself. but it can be helpful, and with hair loss, it's like throw the kitchen sink at it, right? Like, try to hit it from all different angles.
Yeah, we do supplements, we do topicals, we'll do lasers, we'll do injections, sometimes orals. So yeah, lots of different options.
Now, let's talk about creatine for especially, midlife women. I always thought, "Oh, I'm not gonna take that. I don't wanna bulk up and get big muscles and things like that." Do you think that's helpful?
I take it every day. It's in my green drink. I just put a scoop of it in my green drink. So, and this has little aloe in it and, flax seeds. Um, so I do like creatine. I think that it is something as women go through menopause, I think it is something that really does need to be supplemented. So it is absolutely something I do. I think I get it from Thorn.
Okay, yeah, something for me to maybe think about. And so now I hear a lot about NAD and a sort of mitochondrial health, nicotinamide. Just had another study coming out showing using it even earlier in people with skin cancer can be helpful. Like, where do you stand with some of these supplements?
So, you get in you that's where you kinda get into that kind of biohacking world. So I think that anti-inflammatories, as we know in the disorders that we see from, bullous pemphigoid to hidradenitis, things like that, people do well taking the nicotinamide. I think it is a nice thing that you can add as an anti-inflammatory. When you get into the NAD, oftentimes people do best IV, but there really isn't any data. And so that's that kind of fine line where is it really helping? I don't know until we really see some clinical trials. But I'm very comfortable giving it for precancerous people that have a lot of skin cancer. I'm very comfortable giving it to a lot of my skin disorder patients. And I do say for people that need some kind of anti-inflammatory, it's a great one. I take it daily, 500 milligrams.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because prior to this study coming out, I would kinda wait until people had had, several skin cancers, and then now this, large veteran population, they were saying actually if started after the first skin cancer, that it can be helpful. So, definitely change. In fact, even today, I was recommending it for people, and I get this a lot. I see a lot of skin cancer patients, and they always are like, "What can I do? What can I do?" And they sometimes feel sorta down, like, "Oh, this is sun damage from the past and helpless really, right? Like I can't do anything now about it." So I do like that I can now say with some good studies backing it, hey, actually, if you take nicotinamide to 500 milligrams twice a day, that this actually has shown to help decrease precancers and skin cancer. So I think that's really exciting. And I love that there's actually good research on it.
That's what I like to see, and the problem is that, you know, big pharma doesn't want these studies because big pharma loses, money if we're not ordering these prescriptions and things like that, but the reality is a lot of things that we can do in the supplement world really can help, and just making sure you have a legitimate company, making sure you have a company that you can trust, that, the product you're getting is that pure product and not 10 other ingredients and things like that, so
Well, yeah, can you talk more about that? Because I think that's a big concern. People are like, "But which supplement?" Like, they want me to give them a name and tell them because I sometimes will just walk into, like, the supplement section just to kinda see what it looks like, and it is overwhelming. There's so much, it's hard to know what to pick.
it is. That's why I try to do my research, and so I tend to just recommend the companies that I have looked into. So I get a lot from Thorne, I get a lot from Designs for Health, I get a lot from Life Extension and from Pure Encapsulation. Those are typically my main 4, and I feel like what I get is usually I've not had a problem with any of them. They don't come, damaged, there's something not weird in it, things like that. So that's how I do it for myself. And again, yeah, there's so many choices. I know everyone loves their gummies, but gummies just aren't great for you. So I'm not a gummy person, even though they taste good. I mean, I just think,
Oh, no, don't tell me that. Wait, so is it just because it has sugar or
well, it's sugar in it. It's the process of making the gummy isn't good for you. It's just not healthy. I mean, it's just not healthy. So
yeah. Sometimes I laugh when I see these like calcium supplements that are chocolate and all that, or even fiber, right? Like look at the amount of sugar in them, right? Like if your supplement has more sugar than you should be eating in a day or close to it, like that's not a good supplement, right?
but that just tells you, yeah, that just tells you. I don't think I have any sugar in any of my supplements. And again, there are other, we're on that verge of novel stuff coming through the biohacking world and the regenerative medicine world. And so like I take berberine as well. I do that every like twice a week. I do that. The rapamycin is another category that people talk about. I think the data is good. I take 5 milligrams a week, once a week.
Now, is that a prescription or with the
It is a prescription, sirolimus. It is a prescription, but, it's I still consider it kind of a supplement because I'm doing it more for just kind of the healthy aging and things like that, so
that was interesting hearing about, like, mTOR, the mTOR pathway, right? Can you just kinda, in layman's terms, kinda describe that?
the idea is that rapamycin, when you get the mTOR pathway, you're kind of breaking things down and it just kind of blocks it, is the way I tell my patients. And it's a drug that's been around for patients with grafts and transplants and things like that. So it's been around for a long time. There's been some controversy over it, but I think the data right now has been good to show that it really does help our bodies live longer. And that's how I look at it.
Yeah, and I feel like, people are even thinking about it topically too, like how to incorporate that.
You're talking about for hair loss.
Yeah,
They're talking about for hair loss. I'm not sure. And again, I'd have to see the data to know if it's really working in hair loss.
yeah. Well, not a supplement, but any thoughts on metformin? I feel like a lot of people are kinda using that for biohacking.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea. I think that in a patient with an issue with their insulin and things, patients who have diabetes and all that, that's where that drug becomes important. But for those who are not in that category, I think adding that medicine can do more harm than good. And so it is not, in my opinion, one of the better longevity drugs, that are out there. So again, I think that it's much more specific to people that have insulin resistance or issues, and so I don't recommend that as an anti-aging or what medicine.
Good to hear all this. So what are some other supplements that maybe I haven't asked about that you think are, like, super key for skin health, hair, nails, things like that, that maybe I've missed?
So, when people will ask me just in general, so I'll go over like a kind of different kinds of things. Like I like ashwagandha. I think it's really good for like relaxation. And one issue that I talk with my patients about a lot is stress because we are all stressed. Some like this. And the question really is, how do you handle it? So I try to do anything and everything I can to address the stress issue. And I think we know hair loss can be stress induced, but even other conditions of hair loss can be made worse by stress. So I try to talk about, what people can do from yoga, sleep tanks, different kinds of things that they can do, a little acupuncture, the ear seats, things like that to help reduce the stress. And so that's where ashwagandha is a nice one. Some people go into that whole prebiotics, probiotics, postbiotics world. I say eat your sauerkraut and you should be pretty good. I try to do a tablespoon with every meal.
Oh my gosh, I just can't. I just gotta do it, huh?
It's really good, and there's so many flavored ones out there now. There's ones with basil. Oh, you have to go to the store now. You can find organic sauerkraut. There's ones with basil. There's so many different varieties out there. You just have to find one you like, and then you just scoop it down. I mean, it's kinda like what my mother used to say, "You don't have to like it, just eat it." That was the rule in the house. We didn't care if we liked it. That wasn't even a question. So, I I said that to my children as well, and I say that to my patients, is I think that you have to do what's good for you. And I think you get to a certain point where you say, "You know what? If this is good for me, I'm going to eat it or drink it or take it." And so that's how I look at it. So I'm more of a foodie on the postbiotic, things like that. I do think that coenzyme Q10 is a really good vitamin, and I think that people are oftentimes lacking it, and there are new studies out. One of my friends are doing the studies. He's a radiation oncologist by trade, and showing it can help with cancer patients and prevent cancer, reduce cancer size, things like that. So I do take my coenzyme Q10, which is ubiquinol in its purest form. So you can take ubiquinol. I always take my vitamin C. That's just a standard one. I also, as I mentioned now, especially for me, years ago, I just took my CalMag, my calcium magnesium, but now I do specifically take strontium and a bone density one from Life Extension for the changes that happen through menopause. And because again, osteoporosis is, pretty much if you don't do anything, you'll get there. And so I don't want that. I also I'm just looking at my little shelf.
How do you keep track?
I what I do is I have lists And then I change it up. So, like, I have a family history of heart disease. So, I've got some heart health vitamins that I take as well. So, I think it's key, really, talk with your doctors, kind of see where your health status is and then where you may be lacking. I don't take any prescription drugs other than my bioidentical hormone creams. I don't take any prescription drugs, and I just try to find what in my life I might be lacking or I'm low on and things like that based on what I eat, nutrition. And just like you had mentioned about this, so I have literally stayed the same weight, 25 years, 30 years. And what I noticed as I'm going through menopause, and I actually, so I'm on the rapamycin and I still get my cycle, short, but I still get it, which I think can be healthy for women as they're going through menopause. But, when I'm looking at what I'm taking and stuff like that, I'm just like, I just have to, adjust accordingly and how I'm feeling and if certain things are changing in my body. I have family history of heart disease. My mother had leg vein issues, so I'm always wearing my support stocking. So I just try to get patients to kind of talk about what their history is, go over their nutrition. And for me, I have to eat less now than I did before to maintain my weight. And I used to be able to eat kinda anything I wanted, and again, I ate healthy, but I could eat more calories, and now I feel like I'm more of like an OMAD person, and if I do for some reason eat 3 meals in one day, like, I'll be like, "Okay, I'm not fitting my clothes the same way as I was," so I'm just very conscious of kind of what is going through my body.
That's a great point, like, you have to listen to your body, and it's gonna change, and it may change week to week, it may change month to month, or even year to year, so, we're not the same person we were 5 years, 10 years, especially through that whole menopause, perimenopause, which is, just chaos for so many people.
10 times.
I know. It's like, I'm gonna go through reverse puberty as my children go through puberty, right? So, lots of fun in the house for my husband. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I've learned a ton. I am, I take a few supplements, but always in my head, I'm like, okay, am I really getting everything I need? And such great tips. And just, I love how first and foremost, it's like, take care of your body, take care of your nutrition. Like that's where it starts. And then use these as adjuncts, as supplements, right? And that's really how they're meant to be.
Brain, gut, skin connection. It's one big circle, one big cycle, it's all connected, so we have to be aware.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Dr. Ablon, I know people are going to be like, I want to go see this dermatologist with a menopause expert, with a nutritionist. Where can people find you and follow you?
So I'm on at Dr. Ablon is my Instagram. And then we are in Manhattan Beach, California, and it's Ablon Skin Institute and Research Center. So you can look up on the web.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. I will include that in the show notes, and I'll see everyone next week.